strawberries. And so that is why, they take a lot of time because you're always continually transplanting. Last fall, I transplanted 200 plants.
Oh,
So
wow.
it is something that, I put tarp down, I cut the tarp, I pulled the strawberry, put the strawberry in, I surround it with sawdust. And then you're consistently watering, you're talking to it, you're babying it. Like all that takes time, and you have to continuously do that every season in order to keep your crop going.
All right. Hi, Jalene. Welcome to the Meetup spot. How are you doing?
Hi. Hi, Nigel. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. The sun's shining, so it's going to be a great day.
It's it's going to be. It's going to be summer in a few weeks right now. By now.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a nice change of pace, and ready to welcome spring and summer, and you know get rid of the layers for a bit.
Hmm. Nice.
Put the winter coat away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. All right. Here we go. Jalene, tell me about yourself and your growing up story.
Well, I first of all, I have a very large family. So I have four brothers and one sister, and we grew up in a small prairie town, about 10,000 people in the province of Alberta in Canada. And my mom was a professional mom, which means that she took care of the household, and my dad was a teacher. So um, I would say maybe a very quote unquote traditional family. And we grew up, we spent the winter kind of in the small town, and in the summer we moved out to the farm, which is where I learned how to garden, and kind of where my green thumb kind of took off. So we kind of had, I'd say, the best of both worlds. We lived in the city, and then in the summer we moved out to the farm, and were able to enjoy just endless nature and lots of time outside and building forts and being creative, and just time, just outside, and watching clouds, and just kind of you, just being in our bare feet, just being outside, which is such a treat. And I think also that's why I love summer, is because you can just be outside just so much, and I really value that. Hmm.
That's awesome. And are you saying that you've had experience being the farm before seeing Fred, or you grew up being in Fred's farm?
So we would visit. So this is in regards to strawberries. So I started picking strawberries at Fred's, at his farm, when I was in elementary school.
Oh,
And so we would go and visit him and pick at his farm. So, and then when I was in my 30s, I was thinking, okay, Fred can't grow strawberries forever. So I will learn how to take care of strawberries, because I had no idea actually how to. I just went to Fred's and picked them, but I never understood the process of them, and how to grow them and care for them. And I had absolutely no idea. And I was very thankful for Fred. I would phone for every situation, and he would walk me through it, and I was just so thankful. I am so thankful to still have him in my life, and I can still call on him and ask him questions and things like that. So in my 30s, I was able to take that original strawberry plant that he had on his farm and transplant it to where my parents' farm is. And that's where my strawberries are right now, is at my parents' farm. And I'm actively saving and looking to buy my own little piece of property so I can
oh,
keep growing Fred's strawberries. So it's kind of, they've moved a couple of times, and I've shared a couple runners with some other people, which has been really, it's been a real treat to kind of be able to share fried strawberries, and people are keen to learn about strawberries, or maybe they're keen to eat them, because they are very good. But it's always nice if someone's like, "Oh, I'll take a runner or two and I'll plant." So it's just a compliment to Fred and to to how tasty they are. Yeah.
Okay, so far you're currently, I'm sorry, so far you haven't saved up a property to grow strawberries. So right now you are growing strawberries in like where again?
So my
Your parents' farm?
parents, yeah, at my parents, I'm growing them at their place, and at some point I'll have to have my own place. So I'm just in savings mode and just on, I think, MLS every day, looking for the right piece of property, and one day I'll have my own little piece of land, and I'll be able to continue the legacy of Fred strawberries and keep growing them and hopefully pass the torch on to someone else who falls in love with them. Hmm.
Nice. Legacies grow slowly. That's awesome.
Yes.
Why do you do what you do?
Um, okay, that's a big question. Because I do a lot of different things. So for the strawberries, I'll just speak to them first. But the strawberries, I take care of them because they are extremely tasty and they're the best strawberries around. And so I grow them because honestly, even if you go to the farmer's market, you can't get a tasty strawberry like you can when you grow it yourself. And these particular variety came from BC in the 1950s,
Ooh.
and they are kind of a little bit smaller and sweeter,
Mhm.
and they just melt in your mouth. They're they're just sweet and fragrant and just full of flavor. And so I keep growing them, and I because they're a lot of work, because for those that don't know anything about strawberries, they only produce for 4 to 5 years. So every
Mhm.
year you must transplant. Plus, they have a shallow root system. So that means that, especially during the summer, if it's hot, you have to consistently water them. So it's not a plant like you can just plant and be like, okay, we'll just leave it. No, it doesn't work like that. So, like raspberries, you could do that to raspberries. Asparagus plants, sure, but not with strawberries. And so that is why they take a lot of time because you're always continually transplanting. Last fall I transplanted 200 plants.
Oh,
So
wow.
it is something that I put tarp down, I cut the tarp, I pull the strawberry, put the strawberry in, I surround it with sawdust, and then you're consistently watering, you're talking to it, you're babying it. Like, it takes all that takes time, and you have to continuously do that every season in order to keep your crop going. So it's not something that you can just plant and think that it's going to take care of itself, because it's not. It's a little bit of a high maintenance thing, but it's a passion project, and I just love strawberries, and I love to be able to share them with people. And so I'm happy to do the work and continuing growing Fred strawberries. Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you mentioned sawdust, right? And
Yes. Okay, so most people know, strawberries are pretty porous. So what happens
oh,
is that if it rains and the berry is on the dirt's going to get into the berry. And so good luck getting that out. So with the sawdust around the plant, it just kind of props the plant up, and the berries aren't on the dirt, they're on the sawdust. So that way there's no dirt getting into the berry, and therefore your berry is really clean all of the time. You can just pick it and eat it. No problem.
nice. And
Yes.
no sawdust just goes in the berries like that?
Sorry, can you say that again?
and no sawdust, just ghosts and the berries.
No, because sawdust is a little bit it's a little bit flakier, like it's a bigger flakes. So it's not as fine as dirt. So I mean even if you can just brush it off and eat it. It's fine. So it's a little trick and it's it really again keeps your berries really really clean and which is important for sure. So
Good to know. Good to know.
yes. Yeah, a little trick.
Oh, so I guess patience and commitment over these strawberries.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Okay, all right. What helped to get you started in Toastmasters?
Oh, that's a great question. So, my boss and I decided a couple of years ago that we should improve our public speaking. So, I found us a club and we went, and a couple of meetings she dropped out, and I kept going. And I still am in Toastmasters, and I competed, as you mentioned, we talked about earlier this year, I competed. And I also credit, I wrote a book called Modern Day
Day
Courage,
courage.
and it's right here.
Oh yeah.
And with the basis of this book came from Toastmaster speeches that I wrote.
Oh.
So I credit Toastmasters a lot for I didn't actually know I liked writing
Oh.
and I was going to Toastmasters to learn how to public speak. I wasn't going to Toastmasters to get better at writing. I but through the process of writing speeches and kind of learning the craft and storytelling of, I guess I'm generally, when I write something, it's generally in a story format or um, I like telling stories. I guess I lean towards that when I write. And so I joined Toastmasters thinking I would get better at public speaking, which I have. But in the same time, I've been able to really understand that I like writing. I like the creative aspect of writing, and I got the little book out of it. And I will continue to write because I find it's a great way for me to be creative and expressive. And I like the energetically you can play with words and move them around so they deliver and they feel better to say together. And I just love that creative process. And so I'm so thankful that I continued with Toastmasters. And I'm, like I said, I'm still in a club and I enjoy the people that I meet. A lot of people are there to grow and to learn. And that's the kind of mindset of people that I want to be around. And so I will continue with Toastmasters. And I'm thankful that I joined how many years ago and continue on because it's a great place to learn because it's a very safe environment. And it is something where public speaking, it can be very daunting for people. And with the right environment, you can really you know you can fumble, you can have lots of filler words, but everyone is there to improve. And one thing about Toastmasters is, as you know, you get feedback, you can improve, like you will get better if you stick with it. And again, it's such a safe environment to practice, and I think that is and supportive, and I think that's the one thing that I really, if someone's coming to a meeting, I make sure that they're supportive and, they're only encouraged to speak when they want to speak. And then they're really kind of rewarded with the clap once they're done because it's very daunting for certain people. And like I said, I'm just so thankful I got to join all those years ago and will continue with Toastmasters. Hmm.
I'm glad you're enjoying Toastmasters, and in writing speeches, there will always be trial and errors in doing so, right? How
That's
did you
what
deal with
life's
that?
about.
Yeah. How did you deal with the trial and errors of writing speeches?
Um, that's a good question. I would say that I'll kind of so just to kind of share a little bit of the process. If I'm thinking of something, I let it stew for a little while, like down in the stomach area. I just am thinking, stewing, and then once I'm ready, I write continuously on my laptop. I write it. I don't edit. I just write it all out. I don't care about spelling. I don't care about grammar. I just want to get the main kind of concept out on like on a Word document. And then from there, I will add, subtract. I will have certain people read it to kind of give feedback because I value feedback. I mean, that's one thing about Toastmasters. You always get feedback, and it's not, it's not, I value feedback because I think you can always get stronger. And I'm not the type that thinks, my work can't improve because I'm always of a growth mindset. I always think that it could get better. And I I will write to the best of my ability. I will send it to get feedback, and then from there, and I will ask a couple of different people to read it because everyone comes back with different feedback, and that I believe makes it stronger with because we can't see our own, sometimes we can't see past certain things, and other people will bring it to our attention and say, oh, have you thought about this, or have you thought about that, maybe branch off, in that direction and see where it goes. So it is something where it's always a work in progress. I mean, even up to the speech I gave, I was still tweaking it till, a couple weeks before, making it stronger and the message stronger. And I think that I mean, there is a point where you have to say, yes, it's good enough and move on, because, if you're a true perfectionist, it could probably keep going forever. But it gets to a point, I find that it gets to a point and I'm happy with it and I'm willing to share it and go from there. And I love the creative process. So I I think it's always a matter of just trying and tweaking and trying it again. And again, if you're happy with it at the end of the day, then then I think that's the real win, because you're the only one that has to kind of look at it and be like, yeah, I am proud of that. Like, yes, you can have other people praising it or not liking it, that's fine. But if you like it and it brings you joy, then I think that you have succeeded.
That is a good answer. That's one good thing to hear. What's your never mind. What's your public speaking style, and how did you achieve it?
Yes, that also is a good question. I would say that you I found out my kind of storytelling style by just kind of writing speeches. I think that I naturally am um, kind of motivational slash storytelling, like kind of my speeches generally um, are kind of that essence. And I think that for anyone that is joining Toastmasters or just writing in general, I think that you will find your style and your voice the more that you write. And you will find out that, oh, yeah, I'm more driven to do this, or I'm more driven to do that. And like, I'm likely not going to give a very statistical speech with numbers, and because that's not where I generally come from. I want to speak from the heart. I want to speak about stories. I want to speak about emotions. I want to, like, that's what I've come to discover about myself through Toastmasters is that I like telling stories. I like making people feel. I like kind of sharing the lessons I've learned along the way. And so those kind of I didn't know I was like that when I first started how many years ago. But again, as you write speeches and within the Pathways program of Toastmasters, you're always, you find a pathway and you kind of go down that pathway and it takes you, to the other side. So I think that you will find, or I found, what sort of I lean towards because of the different sorts of um, creative, Toastmasters asks you to do this, Toastmasters asks you to write about that. And so you do that, and then again, you will find your kind of what aligns with you the most. And kind of storytelling slash motivation is sort of where I'm at. And I mean, that might change, Nigel. I mean, right now, I think that's kind of where I'm at. But I mean, as humans, we're always evolving and changing. So it is something that maybe that will change down the line. I'm not too sure, but I will continue writing because I love it. And I will continue to enjoy it. Yeah.
Hmm, that's cool. And you mentioned earlier that Toastmasters inspired modern day courage. Can you tell me how it does?
Yes. So I again, I was writing different speeches for Toastmasters and giving them separately at the club. And during COVID, I sent the speeches to numerous people and I kept getting a response of, Jalene, you should do something with these speeches. And I thought,
Oh,
okay, well, they're your friends. They're just being nice. So, okay. But I kept getting that response. So I thought, okay, I should take this seriously. So I hired an editor who doesn't know me, who's, impartial, who has not read my speeches before. And I sent it to him and I said, could this be something? And he said, yes, it could be with, changing some things and writing and really kind of honing in on what the message you want out of the book, because it could have been, again, when you get feedback, it could have gone this way, it could have gone that way. And I decided on, the 6 stories that are in Modern Day Courage. They're my stories and they all have the theme of courage. And so I just decided that everything that I put into the little book, I mean, it's only 46 pages or so.
damn.
Everything that was in the book is going to have that theme of courage. And so with Toastmasters, there were some speeches that I didn't use because they didn't kind of fit the theme. And I had to just set those aside and say, okay, that's okay. They filled their purpose, but they're not going to go in the book. And so um, again, with the feedback of the editor, I was able to really hone in on the message of what I wanted. Like when they read the book, what are they getting out of it? And I just decided that, yeah, we're going to keep some stories. I had to write. There were some things that I was missing, and so I had to write in order to kind of fill out the book. But again, it's all about courage and how you can use courage to kind of, you know, tackle the hard things and, get what you want in life. I mean, it's I use the word courage because it is something that, I mean, to give you a quick synopsis, of where I use courage. I mean, I had to, after 15 years of marriage to my husband, I figured out I needed a girlfriend. So I had to divorce my best friend. I had to come out of the closet to my very Catholic family. I had to deal with, some childhood trauma in my life that had come to the surface, and all of these things, um, they take courage. And so, and I put modern day because um, I just, these are some modern day um, kind of things that, are in our everyday reality. And so I just, Modern Day Courage is the title that I came upon, and it just has sort of fit. So anyone that is, using courage can accomplish what they want. It takes a lot of courage to do so. And I wrote the book to help others, because whatever you're working on within yourself or that's challenging you, it is something where you have to dig deep, and you have to know that, courage is available to all of us. It is something that inherently, as humans, we can use, and it can propel us forward into something better for ourselves. Um, but it is something that it can be very challenging, even if you use courage. So, but I hope that, for those that read the book, that they feel that they're not alone, and that they can too use courage to, take those next little steps, because it's a continuous, it was continuously baby steps that helped move me forward. It was never a giant leap. It was always those small continuous baby steps. Even if you felt like you were moving 1 centimeter, it was still moving forward.
That is an interesting thing to hear. And where can I find that book? Is it in
So
bookstores?
yeah, well, Modern Day Courage, it is at the Edmonton Public Library for sure. You can also get it, you can order it through any bookstore because it has an ISBN number. You can get it
Oh,
on Amazon as well. So it is something where I think there's 2 copies at the Edmonton Public Library. I'm a huge fan of the library, so I was
mm.
just beaming when I found out that I was in the library. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I
Ah,
love libraries, and now I'm here at the library. I mean, it's just, oh, I was just beaming. It was just so exciting to be finally in the library. It was just you know, I was just so proud. So it's at the library, but you can order it through any bookstore, and you can also get it on Amazon. So a few different ways to get the book. Yeah.
I'm glad you made it out there, Julie.
Thank
Nice
you.
job. Before, okay, based on what I heard so far, I think you've been a Toastmaster before or during COVID.
So I joined before, then
Oh,
COVID happened,
yep.
and my club didn't actually make it through COVID.
Oh,
So, and I was, to be honest, Nigel, I was so done with Zoom meetings that I did not,
oh,
during COVID, I was not part of a club. And I found a club once I was able to go back in person.
huh.
And so during COVID, I I wasn't part of a club. I I just took that time off. I was just done with being on Zoom and Teams, and I was done being online. I just wanted to be in person with people. And so I waited until, I was able to go back, and I found a club that's Pipe Up, that's a noon club, and it's an hour, and I
Oh.
appreciate I appreciate them very much, and being part of that club. It's a really kind club. Hmm.
Before your recent division speech, have you joined other contests?
No, I have not. No,
Oh,
I have not. I just competed at my club, and then the next level above that, and then division. But I didn't pass division, which is okay. I'll just try again next year.
well, I'm glad you made it to division, and I really hope I make it to division two. I love the way you speak, and I really hope next year we get to compete.
That would be great.
I know. So, but seriously, this is your first time in a speech contest?
So last year I compete at Toastmasters.
Oh,
Yes, so last year I did compete as well.
oh,
And but again I only made it to, I think it was also division, and I've
oh.
never made it past. So hopefully one day I will write a speech and deliver, and it'll get me to kind of, maybe a little higher level. But I mean, it's an art, that public speaking and kind of delivery and how you are on stage and that energetic exchange, and of course the story. It's not just about telling a great story. It's, you how you're delivering it, how your voice is coming across. There's a lot involved, and it's just wonderful to see, when you go to division and higher up, to see these amazing speakers and how you can learn from them. And um, it's just it's just something that I guess I'm excited that I could maybe evolve to one day. And I just look up to those great speakers, and hopefully one day maybe I'll be like them.
But yeah, but even then, I'm glad you made it. You made it to yeah, to a division.
Oh, thank you, Nigel. Yeah, it was a real honor to represent my club and to again write about Fred Strawberries and share his message, and being able to just introduce people to strawberries and
Mm,
share what I've learned and share what I've learned from Fred, and all through these little red strawberries. It's such an honor to share his story, truly.
mm. Okay. Right now, it's tough for people these days to find jobs. If they want to go the same path as you, what are the things they can do right now to practice?
Well, I think
When
joining
it comes to farming, yeah.
Toastmasters,
When it
yeah,
comes to
is a
farming, yeah.
pardon me.
When it comes to farming, sorry about
Oh, when it comes to farming. Um, well, I would say first of all, you'd have to have a passion or a curiosity, maybe not a passion, but a curiosity around something. Um, so maybe that's, oh, I've always wanted to grow raspberries, or I've always wanted to learn how to grow peas, and I've always wanted to do X. So if that's the case, okay, I know that first of all, there's lots of community gardens in the city to start with.
that.
So if
Ah,
you are thinking of, oh, I might want to join, I would encourage anyone to look at, in their cities, where are these community gardens? And with that, there generally are pretty avid gardeners at these community gardens that are very willing to help. And generally, if you don't know even how to plant anything, I'm sure you will meet people that will want to help you. And so you could get, I mean, you don't have to have a huge plot at the community garden. You could have a smaller plot, something manageable, because you don't want to plant and then get overwhelmed and don't know what you're doing, and then just it's all flustered, and it just, it's just too much. So I would say to someone, if you're thinking of it, you know, or even, you could get a couple planters and, start really small. But I guess I value the community aspect of, you know being with people and learning together and asking questions. And so if you're in a community garden, you would have access to all these people that generally have, history with gardening, tips, techniques, and can help you kind of understand, how things grow, or how deep you should plant them, or how much you should water, or when it first comes up, which is the weed and which is the actual little plant, like those practical things you can get with the support of a community garden. And I will say that when I lived on the south side of Edmonton, I was at a community garden and I met he became a friend, but I met him at 89 and I was his friend until he passed away at 93. So I would say that um, friendships can also blossom in a community garden because I never thought I would have a friend, when I was in my 30s who would be, in his late 80s. And we had so much to talk about because we had this community garden and we had that passion of kind of learning and growing food and taking care of plants. And that was one thing that, again, I wasn't expecting, but I was just expecting to, grow my peas and my beans and my beets and things like carrots. And, I was able to meet my friend Ken. And, I mean, I was his friend right up until he passed away. So it is something where, if you are thinking that you want to learn how to grow, I would say, you can try in a planter, like YouTube is great. It's going to teach you a lot. I would also say try to find a community garden. And then from there, if you love it, then progress from there. But I would say start small. Like don't, you know, go too gung ho because, you might get overwhelmed. So I would say kind of start small and get that confidence and then keep building from there.
Mhm. Nice. Oh well, well, I guess that's it for the questions. I really hope we can talk again. Any last thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, in the theme of what we've talked about, whether it's Toastmasters, whether it's gardening, whether it's writing, I think it's just a matter of actually starting and just start, and you likely aren't going to be the best at it. And that's okay because there is a benefit of being a beginner. And I just think that if you don't try, you'll never know. But at least if you try, even if it is a spectacular fail. And I mean, I remember my first table topics at Toastmasters. I mean, I barely got it out. I don't think I made sense. I was so embarrassed. I sat down with a hot face and people clapped for me. They clapped. And I thought, oh my gosh, like this is the support that I'm going to get. And I really epically failed that table topics, yet people were so supportive. And if I didn't try, then I wouldn't have, epically failed, but I would have also not got that round of applause, which kept me coming back to Toastmasters. And I think that just freaking trying is, I think, just almost half the battle of just saying, you know what, I'm going to join that Toastmasters group. Okay.
Again, thank you for coming to the Meetup spot, Jalene.
Well, Nigel, thank you very much for having me. And it was nice to meet you at the Toastmasters event. And hopefully one day get to compete against you.
I hope so. I really and I also really hope we get to talk to each other again.
Yeah, that would be lovely. So enjoy your Saturday. And thank you again for having me on the show. It was really, I mean, I love talking about strawberries. I love talking about courage. And this morning, and Toastmasters. And this morning, I was able to do all three. So thank you so much.
That's nice. That's nice. Thank you. Again, thank you again, Jalene.
Okay. Thanks, Nigel. Have a great day.
You too, Jalene.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.